How to make your interactions more man to woman. Now, one of the biggest problems I've seen after coaching 1,000+ men over the years is they have platonic, friendly conversation that's simply not landing them dates. And so I want to break down for you guys the different types of vibes you can have in an interaction, but more importantly, how to transition your way ultimately to have more man to woman interactions. If you can do this properly, you'll start turning normal, friendly conversations or formal conversations into man to woman interactions that can land dates, all right? If you're simply not approaching enough, if you're not getting into the conversations, or if you're not dating the girls that are really of the quality that you want, I can help you with that process. Click the link down below, check out the in-depth training I put together that talks more about my journey, the clients I help, and how I can help you achieve your dream dating life. Links down below. Let's get into this video. So we'll start off on the formal side. I'll show you guys how to go from formal to friendly, and most of you guys are probably already in friendly. I'm gonna show you how to make all of these interactions more man to woman. So with each one of these, there's a certain vibe and delivery, right? And there's also a certain type of conversation that goes on. And that's really what it is that in every interaction, based on the vibe, the delivery, the tonality, and the words that are being discussed in that conversation, we then categorize this as a formal or professional or friendly type interaction, or more of a man to woman dynamic, right? So there's a vibe for each, and there's a type of conversation for each. So let's start off with the professional vibe and delivery. Just imagine you were in the office and Tom walked in and I said, "Hey Tom, how's it going, brother? Good to see you this morning." Right? That is a certain vibe. It's very formal. I'm here for the business meeting. I'm going to educate you on something. Oftentimes in my own YouTube videos, I talk with a very formal, professional, educational type of delivery, right? And so the way that I speak, the hand movements, the facial expressions oftentimes are in this category. "Hey Jess, good to see you this morning. Hey Jess, good morning, happy Monday." Right? There's a certain downward tonality, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's very serious. And so that is the vibe and delivery of a professional, formal type setting. The conversation is typically service-based conversation, meaning we're talking about whatever the professional or formal service or environment that we're in. So if you were talking to Tom at the business meeting, we're gonna be talking about the service that the business works. So Tom, how much revenue has the business brought in this month, right? We're talking about the service. If you were talking to a secretary, a waitress, or a receptionist that you were attracted to, typically what happens is you talk about the service. So the vibe might start to be friendly or man to woman, and I'll show you guys how to transition, but oftentimes the waitress is just gonna be like, "Oh, can I take your order?" You're gonna say, "Yeah, I'd actually like the filet mignon. I'd prefer that medium rare, please, and I'll take a side of mashed potatoes." Okay, and then what do you want to have as well, right? We're talking about a service. Receptionist, "Oh, can you make the appointment on Tuesday?" "Yeah, that sounds good." Okay, so that's all formal. How do we go into friendly? Well, friendly is a different vibe. It's typically a little bit more happy, right? So there's more smiling and you're more happy as you would be when you're having fun with a friend, right? So instead of, "Hey Tom, what's going on?" If I saw Tom in the office and I wanted to be more friendly, I'd be like, "Tom, what's up, my man? How you doing? Good morning. Happy Monday, man. It's good to see you." But if I saw Tom in a completely different environment, if I saw Tom out at the bar, I'm gonna say, "Tom, my man, what's up, brother? How you? Yo, it's good to see you today, dude." Right? That's a completely different vibe, right? So that is a more friendly vibe. Now, also the conversation, it's not gonna be about work so much either. It's typically gonna be about either you or it's gonna be about them. So less about the service itself, it's more about yourself or that person. And so that right there is a very easy transition. If you're talking to a secretary, a waitress, or receptionist, and you're in a formal setting, the first thing to do is start to switch up your vibe and not make it so professional. Start talking a little bit more with a smile, and also start talking about you or them. So if she said, "Can you do Tuesday?" Instead of just talking about the appointment, or instead of just talking about, "Yeah, I just want the filet mignon," you need to get off of that topic and talk more about yourself or talk more about them. So if nothing else, even if I just said, "Yeah, let's do the appointment Tuesday. How's your day going, by the way?" I'm already starting to get off of formal and suddenly it's becoming more over here. And I'll actually show you how to transition over in just a minute, but that's the first step. You don't just go from, "Yeah, let's do the appointment Tuesday. Hey, by the way, you want to go on a date?" You can't make that shift. All right, so it needs to go here first with any one of these. You start talking about your food, talk a little bit about yourself. Honestly, I'm so excited for this steak to come out because I was fasting all day and I literally just finished up dance class. So I was on the drive over here thinking like, oh my God, I'm so hungry. And so you see how I started talking about the food initially, but now I'm talking about myself, or I could even just talk about them. So very easy way is to just ask them a personal question, or you make an observation about them. It instantly takes it off of the service thing and starts making it more about them, which is what you want. All right, so, hey, actually, I just noticed you have a tattoo. That looks really cool. What is that exactly? What's this? You got a little, what does that represent? Anything?
It's the flowers to Buddha.
That's gonna get off of the professional and start making it more about them. Now, most of you guys are already here. You're talking to women, right? But you don't know how to go to here. So the first thing is the vibe and delivery, because a lot of you guys, if you talk really happy, even if I teach you the words and what to say, if you don't have a good vibe and a good delivery that is more man to woman, it's just not gonna hit on that emotional level. I have specific videos on my channel where I'm only talking about vibe and delivery. There's a lot of times where I've been like, fuck the words, because if you just sound like a little Mickey Mouse, you can't create sexual tension. You can't create a man to woman dynamic there. So the vibe is slowed down, right? You need to be able to talk slow. You need to be able to have a little bit of a smirk. You need to be able to look with a relaxed gaze. And so by doing that, you will start to create the right emotions in the delivery. You talk in a formal way, it's going to create this effect that I'm educating you. You talk in a friendly way, it's gonna create an effect that I'm happy and we're gonna be friends. If you start talking in a slower, more sexy, more flirtatious style of communication, now things are starting to get into place where it needs to be to create more of a man to woman dynamic in the interaction. And to be fair, most of you guys are probably already just stuck in this section right here. And so I want to now move into the man to woman section. But guys, if you're not even getting into conversations with women, or if you want to land more dates, if you want to work with me directly, if you're tired of just watching content, click the link down below, check out more details about how I can help you directly to achieve your dream dating life. All right, let's move into the last section here, man to woman. Now, when it comes to man to woman interaction, there's a certain vibe and delivery that needs to go on. But now let's also talk about the conversation, because I was telling you, when it's friendly, it's typically talking about them or yourself. When you want to start making it more man to woman, the conversation isn't necessarily about you or about her. There's this underlying context of a man and woman together, right? Friendly is man to man or friend to friend. Man to woman is essentially man and woman on a date. Think about that. Anytime that we make the interaction about us, now it's suddenly becoming more man to woman. That's what needs to happen in the conversation. So an easy way is to just start thinking about yourself, whatever topic we're talking about, what does this mean about us? What would this mean about us if we were dating? Imagine you were already dating and you found out some piece of information. What would this mean if we were to date? But notice here it says in the positive or in the negative, because oftentimes to just make this abrupt transition to just assume that we're gonna be on a date or this is about us, that could be a big jump. If I found out something about her and I said, oh, now I'm really excited to go on a date with you, that might be too much in the interaction. But oftentimes doing it in the negative is actually more powerful. Telling the girl, there's no way that we could ever hang out together, right? That is in the negative, but it's implying that me and her could hang out. And so the frame is man to woman, but technically in the negative. And that is actually very safe, right? A great tool that you could do is start declining women in terms of like inviting them to do things. I was out recently with a friend of mine. We were sitting down with these two girls that we met out and they were trying to come to the table because we were all getting food, and I was literally telling them, I was like, no, you guys can't sit at this table. You gotta, the chairs are down there if you want to go. And they were literally eating it up. They're laughing. The girl's like, oh my God, no, I'm not allowed at the table. And then we got into this joke about whether or not she was like cool enough to actually sit at the table with us. So a lot of the times just bringing it up in the negative is a very safe way to start teasing girls, but really you start making it about you guys. It's about us together. What does this mean about us? And that's oftentimes why just displaying intent at some point in the interaction can also be pretty powerful, because if you just tell the girl at some point something she did was cute, or you thought that was cute, or you thought that was sexy, or you thought that was attractive, that's already implying I'm attracted to you. Now, if you only do that one thing over and over and over again, the underlying net of the dynamic isn't us together. It's just, I'm attracted to you, I'm attracted to you, I'm attracted to you, I'm attracted to you. And that's what I see a lot of guys doing. It's them push, 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 push. And then they're kind of waiting to see whether or not the girl likes them back or is reciprocating. And so it's okay to display intent, but the last thing I put down here is like, what's the net? What's the net amount of man to woman dynamics that's going on? Because if it's just you displaying intent and complimenting and pushing and pushing and pushing, that's really gonna result in you like over pedestalizing and giving all your power away, right? And also, another point of this, what's the net? If you just make it man to woman one time in the whole interaction, the net is very low. I see a lot of guys, they open in the interaction, they display intent, and then the rest of the interaction is just friendly tonality, friendly vibe, friendly delivery, and just back and forth, get to know you talk, asking personal questions, making observations, but it just stays here. There was one injection of this at the very beginning or one injection point, and the net of that is still extremely friendly. Extremely friendly. So just because you did something one time doesn't mean this whole interaction is now man to woman. Just because I said one joke doesn't mean suddenly this whole interaction is funny. For an interaction to be funny, there would have to be multiple injections of funny instances to give an overall net feeling of something being funny. To make something man to woman, there needs to be multiple injection points in the positive or in the negative, some level of intent, something about us, some type of invitation or idea of us gonna go do something. Maybe she even made a comment and you ended up like misinterpreting it that she's actually more attracted to you. I was on a coaching call recently with a client and we were breaking down a recording of his conversation, and the woman who had just finished traveling for the last month, she had this rental car. He asked her, he was like, would you do it again? And she was saying, honestly, it was a lot of work and I don't see myself doing that unless I had someone with me who knew more about like mechanical help with cars. All right, and then he went back into a very friendly answer after that. He just started talking about, he asked her another question. Right? And I told him, I paused the recording there. I said, bro, you could have made that about you and her if you misinterpreted and tweaked the wording. Like she said, I don't think I could do this again unless I had somebody with me that knew more about mechanics and stuff. I was like, why not make that about you and her? And I paused the recording. I said, yo, you should have just made this about the both of you. Like misinterpret that as if she's inviting you to come on the next trip with you. So you could have just said in a little bit of a flirty delivery, you should have just said something like, is that you trying to invite me on your next road trip with you? Because I don't know yet. Maybe we should just like hang out, get a coffee and kind of get to know each other first. But it sounds appealing for sure. So you see how guys have so many opportunities in interaction to make it about you and the woman. Guys are afraid to take that step, and so they have a tendency of keeping it on a very friendly level, and they just kind of ask more questions or they talk a little bit more about themselves, but also they keep a very friendly delivery. Because even if I say the right words, but I have a professional or friendly delivery, it just doesn't hit. If she said, yeah, if I had somebody with, you know, who knew more about mechanics, I said, is that you like inviting me? Because I don't know. Like that's not flirty. That's not gonna hit emotionally. So you need to have the vibe, and occasionally you need to make the words and the conversation topics more about you and the woman if you guys were to date, in the positive or in the negative. In the negative is a great way to introduce it, and as you get further and further into the interaction and you're having multiple injection points, remember the net total, as you go further and further into this thing, now it can actually move towards a legitimate idea of you guys hanging out on a date. All right, if you want to know more about conversation structure, teasing, flirting, check out this video right here. I really break down a lot of different flirting techniques. Or if you're done watching content and you actually want real results in your life, you could click the link down below, check out the in-depth training I put together. I go more into my transformation over the last 10 years, the clients I help, more details about my coaching program and how I can help you achieve your dream dating life. Click the link down below, check that out right now. That's all for this video, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.